Cool. So just going to give a couple of minutes to get everybody in. I can see we've got some people coming in. Welcome. Feel free to tell us where you're coming from in the chat. We'll just give it another second or so. All right, well, we might start. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Giants Weekly. So my name is Melia, and I'm part of the team at Blackbird. And today we're really excited to have Dean McEvoy, one of Australia's most successful founders, investors, and startup advisors, joining us. So Dean has also made over 100 tech investments, and he consistently ranks as one of our top mentors over at StartMate. In this session, Dean is going to teach you how to identify your target audience's desired outcome, compare alternatives, and connect your solution to a core human need. So we'll leave around 10 minutes at the end of this session for questions. So post them in the Q&A and we'll do our best to get to them all. And in the meantime, over to you, Dean.
Thanks, Melia. It's great to be here, everyone. Always exciting to get up early in the morning and talk startups with a great crew of people in the Blackbird community, which I love and have been part of since the beginning. I'll jump straight in and I'll get my slides up and going. Just give me 1 second. And one sec to load up. There we go. So you've got mini me down the bottom here today, which should be kind of interesting. Trying something a little bit different, but yeah, here today we're talking about insight development, and it's really a framework for better startups faster. And who doesn't want that, right? So the key thing is, like, why should you care about insight development? The reason is it'll help you get to product market fit faster. It'll make your marketing much more efficient. You'll spend less and you'll convert more. And most importantly, as you scale, if you can identify the insights around your business well, it makes it much easier to bring in people into product, sales, and marketing, which is one of the biggest reasons I see why companies who raise a seed round don't raise a Series A. They can't scale your team and bring them up to speed quickly. It's a real problem. The other thing the first thing that kind of made me notice that there was something else in the world was when I noticed the trend in the businesses I'd started. So my first business, Booking Angel, was an online reservation system for restaurants. And in the first month, we did $450. Woohoo, rocking it. The second month, we did, my second business was Spreets. It was the first group buying site in Australia. We did $45,000 in the first month. My third business, Icon Park, which was a property and commercial property crowdfunding platform, we did $281,000 in the first 21 days, actually. And then Tech Sydney, the industry group that I started, we did a crowdfunding campaign over 30 days that raised $530,000. So over time, I'm getting better at convincing people to hand over their money faster. And I was sort of reverse engineering what I did differently in all those businesses and thinking about those things. And the other thing that really bothered me, my first business, Booking Angel, and my second business, Spreets, in my mind, I felt like was exactly the same thing. We were selling bums on seats to businesses like restaurants. And I couldn't understand why one was successful. In Spreets, we sold that in a year to Yahoo for $40 million. And Booking Angel, I struggled for 5 years, barely raised any money, slept on people's couches, and it never really kind of succeeded. And I just hate saying it failed, but it failed. So the other thing I noticed is at StartMate, we see thousands of pitches. As an angel investor, I see lots as well. And as a startup advisor, I talk to lots of companies. And the number one thing that really annoys me is people come to you and say, I'm going to build this app. I've noticed that there's lots of people who are overweight. And so I'm going to build an app that solves that problem. I'm like, okay, cool. So what's the problem you're solving? They're like, yeah, people are overweight. I'm like, that's not a problem. You're not digging in deep enough. And people that go and start a business without really understanding the insights around that problem and around that business, they'll fail or they'll never get started. They'll never raise money. And it's why we see, just last year, they analyzed why companies failed. And 42% of the time was because there was no market need. And that's just astounding, isn't it? Why would you get started if you couldn't at least solve something in this world? Why are we doing this? 42% of people fail because of that. And the problem is problems. Everyone says just go out and solve a problem. That's not enough these days. You've got to go out and find an insight, because insights are what grow businesses. Now, I'm standing on the shoulders of these giants in what I'm talking about today. And some of you may know and recognize who they are. The first guy with the grey hair is Steve Blank. He's the father of customer development. And I suggest you go and learn all of these frameworks really well. Clayton Christensen, although there's a lot of debate about who came up with it, was the father of the Jobs to Be Done framework. And on the right here, Eric Ries, above me. He's the father of the Lean Startup. Now, you should have all read that book. It's a game changer for our industry. It took us from doing things from gut feel to actually some science behind it. But I think it's gone too far. I think there's a problem now that people think, hey, I can just go and come up with an idea, launch an MVP, and A/B test myself to success. And that's bullshit. People have to do more work before they start, more work around the insights and the problem. And that's why, even though in all these frameworks and all these years, the Lean Startup's been around for 8 years, and we still see 42% of startups fail because they can't find a market need. Now, the first inkling of where I kind of discovered this, there was something else, was a phone call I got in my first business, Booking Angel. Now, on this day, a particular company called me. It was our best customer. Now, Booking Angel was an online reservation system. People used to book online and automatically call them during using their phone, and using speech recognition, they could respond to the online reservation. It's kind of innovative back in 2004. Didn't have a lot of speech recognition and stuff around there. But, and we used to charge the restaurants like $5 every booking we bought them. So we had this one customer who'd been with us right from the beginning. He got lots of bookings every month, like sort of 50 to 60 bookings a month. So considering there's 3 or 4 people in a booking, there's like 200 extra customers we were bringing him every month. And he called me one day to say, Dean, I'm cancelling. I was like, what? You get so much business from us. Why? He goes, no, you're too expensive. I don't want to do it anymore. And I tried everything, discounted, like it wouldn't have it, just didn't want to do it anymore. And so the main thing, he said he didn't want to do it anymore. So he cancelled. Second customer, he came along and he called me, and I'd signed him up only 2 weeks beforehand. And since we changed the business a little bit, we used to sign up a restaurant on day one, and we'd run special offers on other websites to try and drive traffic to them straight away, because we knew that if they got bookings quickly, they loved us. And it meant that I could go in pitching to them and say, hey, we will bring you business. I guarantee you in the first week, we'll bring you at least 5 new bookings. And no one believed you. And then when you did it, they loved you. And this guy called me and he was like, this is amazing. This is the best service I've ever had. And all we'd done was bring in 5 bookings. And he was raving about it, introducing me to other restaurants. I didn't get it, but it stuck in my head. And then something weird happened to me a few months later. I went and did an Anthony Robbins seminar. And yes, I was one of those happy clappers, jumping up and down, and we walked on fire. And maybe it was the burning on my feet that brought me to a revelation. But he talked in that seminar about the idea of these 6 core human needs. And something just clicked for me. And it was, in understanding that people only really are motivated to take action when you strike or touch something that strikes one of these core human needs. So it's about connection, being connected to other people, significance, looking important, feeling better, certainty, just knowing that the same stuff's going to happen, variety, mixing things up. Growth is about expansion of yourself, improving as a person and improving yourself. And contribution's about giving back. And so when I thought about it, I compared what I was doing in those 2 different pitches, the Booking Angel. The first guy, all I was doing was selling him an online reservation system. And it was maybe that's all I was selling him, actually. I didn't even probably go to the trouble of thinking what functional need. Did it save time? Did it reduce effort? I probably wasn't even selling that to him. I just sold him an online reservation system. So he just saw a very expensive bill coming in every month for an online reservation system, because in his mind, I wasn't really solving a big need for him. And I realized that the holy grail is when you can combine a functional benefit. So you have to solve a problem in the business. That's a given, that's table stakes. But eventually, even in enterprise sales, you're going to have to get it through a person. And to get it through a person, you've got to touch one of these like core human needs. And so the reason why it worked for the second guy is I was reducing effort and growing his business. And that's a core human need. So he was energized and focused on doing that. So this is how you do it. You got to understand, people don't buy your product, they buy that functional benefit that I just talked about. And then the thing about the core human needs, if you don't tap into someone's core human need at some level, they won't take action. So if you've been in a sales process where people are slow, people won't, your business and people are not like, I'll get back to you next week or whatever, it's because you're not really touching that core human need for them. When you do, people act. And so it's the combination of the functional need and the core human need is what is an outcome. So basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to understand what someone's desired outcome is. And so to give you an example, in the restaurant industry, the desired outcome of a particular restaurateur is, more bums on seats, consistent revenue, and, profitability of the business. So the desired outcome is, to do that. And probably for the really creative ones, it's to, do something creative and have an impact on the industry. So if the desired outcome is that, then if you think about what was the first business that I pitched, Booking Angel, the outcome we delivered was, helping people kind of get reservations to the internet and get some more business. But we didn't give them a lot of business. We gave them like 4 or 5 bookings a week and that sort of thing. The difference between that and Spritz, where in a single day we drove hundreds of reservations to a particular restaurant and gave them the money up front, you can see why the difference between those businesses was so big. And therefore, the insight that drove the success of those 2 businesses, you can understand. So there was a massive gap between the desired outcome and the outcome that we could deliver at Booking Angel. But with Spritz, we were like more than fulfilling their dreams of getting business and reservations. So that's why Spritz was successful. And so the number of people who have that outcome gap is about the size of the market. So it gives you a framework for understanding how big is this problem, how many people have it. A quick case study that I'll walk you through is a company, Notive, which I'm an investor and advisor to. And Notive is a transcription app. It'll join all your Zoom meetings, record the conversation and transcribe it. The great thing about it is it can do a lot more. It can listen, it can take actions, it can capture different moments within that thing. But the problem is, when you think about it, it can do anything. And so how do you define what it should do and where the most valuable opportunity is? So what we did is we looked at where are the most valuable meetings in the world? Who has valuable meetings? And there's like lawyers and consultants we thought were quite valuable meetings. Advertising industry, quite valuable meetings. And then we thought about who has a lot of meetings, people in councils, company secretaries, universities. And I explored a whole bunch of interviews with people that were leaders in all of those different areas, who understood the whole business of those industries. And the hardest part is, how do you get the interview? That's the first bit. And my tip for you is that people want to be part of something new and innovative. So the way I would pitch it to them and say, hey, we're working on something interesting in the meeting space, which will make meetings more productive. I don't want to tell you too much about it now, because I want to use your insights and feedback to try and understand where the opportunity for the business is. Would you be willing to give me half an hour of your time, to have some input into this innovative technology? And I'll tell you about it all at the end. And the curiosity and the idea that someone wants to be involved got them involved. And then the question is, how do you uncover their true outcomes? So you ask questions about what's most important to you. What meetings were most important to you? What do you find most annoying about meetings? Where are the meetings that cost you the most, with people or time, or the ones that when they go wrong have a bigger impact? When you understand the high stakes kind of scenarios of different meetings, what we worked out was, that consultants was a big opportunity. So we went to lawyers and we dismissed lawyers because selling to lawyers is like selling to 500 different partners. So you never sell to a law firm, you sell to 500 different partners, and each of them have a different opinion, and some of them want to take money off the table next month, and some of them So they're really hard to sell to. But the consultants was a good one, because when a CEO or a business development person in a consulting company is going out and talking to clients, they're doing one of two things. They're trying to sell the consulting agency, but that client is feeding back to them information which is important to the job if they get it. And the problem is, if they win the job, the consultant who's selling is not really paying attention and taking detailed notes of the requirements. They're just trying to sell that, yeah, we can do what you're asking. And there's a real problem that once you win the job, they send in a product manager or someone else to come in and re-ask those same questions. It's really annoying for the client to have to re-answer those questions again. The other thing is, the other way to handle that is the next best alternative could be to bring in a product manager to take notes. Now that's expensive. So if your outcome as an owner of a business is to grow, that's directly in conflict to that. Likewise, if you're trying to connect with someone to sell and you start taking notes, which are the two next best alternatives, then it's a no-go. So you're basically not connecting with the person while I'm sitting here writing notes. And so that highlighted that there was a real core human need that connected with connection and growth. And we knew that there was a real opportunity here. So the first step of the insight is you work out, here's the value prop that works. You can go and test that then with some social media advertising, see if it actually does resonate with that market. And what you've got is the beginning of your marketing funnel. And it's a marketing funnel and a product roadmap that'll actually work and convert. Now, growth is a big thing, an important thing for your startup. And growth is really insights at scale. Because once you've worked out the insight that gets one type of persona working through your funnel, you go and work out the extra personas that'll work. So the next step is to kind of put this on steroids. So you can then go and activate your acquisition funnels. And the thing is, the reason why insight development is so important in marketing, everyone out there has the same ammunition as you. Anyone can go run an online ad, a search engine ad, an email campaign. And so the challenge is, how do you differentiate yourself? And the only way to do it is by having the insights that make these things better. So insight development will make your marketing funnel better. And so just to summarize what we've talked about today, you've got to understand the functional needs and core human needs, and that'll give you the outcome of what people want, their desired outcome. And then you've got to understand what's the outcome you deliver. And then when you go out and look at what are the alternatives that people are looking at now to try and solve that outcome. And then, is that original desired outcome being achieved? Yes. Well, then there may not be an opportunity. If it's not being achieved, then you ask the question, why? Why are you not achieving your outcome? And that is the insight on which you build a business. If you know this before you start to cut code, you'll get to product market fit faster. And if you use these insights at scale, you'll make your marketing more effective. And more importantly, as you scale and you need to bring on other team members, if you need to get them up to speed on sales, marketing, or product, if you can articulate in a first principles manner what the problem is you're solving using this insight development framework, you will have better startups faster. So there's a lot more that happens after this. The challenge you have once you've worked out your marketing funnel is using the right tools, and it's getting harder and harder. There used to be 150 tools, and now there's like almost 7,000 different kind of tools that enable you to build a marketing funnel well, and it's hard. And so sticky taping all these things together is a workshop on its own. It's something myself and a group of people specialize in. And so if you're interested, reach out and have a chat about how to kind of build the marketing funnel on steroids. If anyone wants to get a copy of the template for insight development so you can go and fill it in yourself, just email me and I'll send you a copy. Likewise, I'll send you a free list of interview questions that might kind of get you started. But I think there might be a few questions, hopefully. So let me know if there's anything else I can do. But anyone reach out, me at deanmcevoy.com, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Great to talk today.
Thanks, Dean. That was great. I want to kick off the Q&A with a question about insight development for companies that maybe are a little bit further along and haven't gone through that process early in the piece, pre-code, as you mentioned. Where do you start if you're already down the track and you've maybe got an MVP and you've realized that is not hitting that insight development? Well, you don't have those insights that you should have.
What typically happens with those companies is there's a founder in there who just viscerally understands the problem. And the reason why they've been successful to date is they've been able to kind of solve a problem they so viscerally understood themselves. And normally these people, when they're in product sales or marketing, they provide a pivotal role where they're leading the product team, leading the sales team, leading the marketing team. And they're doing it in such an instinctive, visceral way that's successful that often that's fine. That'll get you a first round of capital. But as you grow and you need to bring on a product manager and you need to try and get them to understand how you understand the problem, that's where things fall down. And that's where insight development is really helpful, because you can break down the problem in a first principles manner that enables someone else to get up to speed fast. And so it's never too late. In fact, I often find that insight development is more important at this stage because founders can carry on one of those roles up to a point. And so, it's great to do beforehand. It's a great kind of validator of what you do beforehand. But founders who are solving a problem that they understand really well, they do all this instinctively. They instinctively know what the next best alternatives are and where the problem is. But when you need to break it down for the rest of your team is where it's critical. So it's never too late. And you get started in the same way. You get started by going out and talking to customers and really understanding what it is they want. And you can actually then use your own product as a comparative of how it compares to delivering on the next best alternatives.
Great. When you have a founder, as you mentioned, who really understands the problem, really understands the solution, how do you scale, or how can they really communicate their belief and their insights as the team grows, particularly as the team grows at a larger scale, beyond that first hire or those first sales or marketing hires?
Often the first person I interview are the founders. So when I go in and do this for companies, I treat the founder like I would if it was an end customer interview, and dig out of them what the framework is in their mind for, okay, what's the outcome you think your market has? What's the outcome you think you deliver? What core human needs do you think you touch? What are the functional benefits? And then I would go and that'd be my first call. And then I'd go and validate that externally with some of their best customers that already know about them, and then some of their prospective customers that don't know about them.
Great. Another question, how do you remove bias if the founder has a strong idea around what they think the problem is or what they believe the insight is, and other people in the business maybe don't share that belief?
I think this is a great way of removing bias, because I've actually hands down just been dealing with this with a particular company that I'm working with at the moment. 3 very strong founders, 3 very strong opinions about what happens. And the ultimate kind of referee in that kind of line call is the customer. And so it's fantastic for breaking a deadlock between founders who are like, I think we should do this, I think we should do this. It's like, well, let's think what the customer thinks. And that's what you should be doing, right? The problem we all have is, the reason why we have startups with no market need is because we have founders who build stuff that they think is right, not customers. So this is a great way to align yourself with what customers want.
That's awesome. What about like down the track, once you've got this insight development humming, you're growing as a business, what's the right rhythm for revisiting and adjusting this insight development, particularly at growth?
I think it should be a muscle you build into the company, like long term, because the companies that will get disrupted are the ones that disconnect from this idea. So, if you just keep building your particular startup without going out and testing, are we actually delivering on the outcomes that people want? How's the world changed now? COVID has changed the world significantly in the outcomes and priorities that people have in this world. So where previously your startup might have nailed it in your market, people's outcomes and priorities and stuff have changed. So it's really important now more than ever to make sure that the next startup down the road is not going to disrupt you. And if you want to stay ahead of the market, it's the only way to do it.
Great. I don't have any other questions coming in at the moment. I think we've got to them, but just maybe if you wanted, if there was any parting thoughts or any last advice you would give to someone who's on the fence about whether to start this or how they start. I know you mentioned just
Sure.
giving it a go.
I think the hardest thing for a founder, and this is the most important thing you can do as a founder at any stage of the business, you need to go and seek negative feedback. And it's really hard because when you first start your business, you are so viscerally tied to the success or failure of it. So every time someone says they don't like it, that you feel like they're saying they don't like you. And you need to get to a point where someone can say negative feedback about your business and you don't get that choky, terrible feeling in your gut. You need to get so used to pulling negative feedback out of people. Now, when I talk to people about stuff, like I presented this to someone yesterday, I was like, yeah, I don't want to know what you like about it. Tell me what you don't like about it. And once you give permission to do that to people, you get really interesting insights. So the most important thing as a founder is to separate yourself from your business. If you can do that, then you'll get great feedback. You'll seek feedback and you'll give people permission to give it to you. So I'd say no matter what stage you are, everyone can work on that a little bit better because we're all pretty tired and precious about our startups, and we need to get better at asking and giving people permission to tell us what's wrong with it.
Absolutely. Well, it's a great place to finish on. And thank you so much for your insights and your time today, Dean.
Sure.
On behalf of the Blackbird team and everyone, thanks for joining us.
No worries.
And next week, we will have Blackbird partner Sam Wong talking about investor relationships. So join us then and have a great week. Thanks again, Dean.
Sure. Just one thing, if anyone, like I said, wants to get a copy of the insight development framework, the interview questions, or to talk about consulting to tool up the analytics and marketing funnels, it's me@deanmcevoy.com. So talk then.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Bye.